Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 383. Hobby weekend, baby. Rockford Card Show yesterday, the Northern Illinois Card Show at the Rock Church. Great success. I'm going to review the show. I bought some bargain boxes. I'm going to talk about how I went about purchasing from the same vendor in different ways. So I'm going to explain how deals came about. Zach, what's up? Good morning. Um, so overall, a success, buy, sell, and networking. So met some vendors, sold some cards in the bargain boxes, bought some bargain boxes outright. So overall, a success. So I'll talk about that. I also picked up nostalgia buy at the end of the show, which actually led to a great conversation with a vendor that he's been wanting to set up at my show. And I introduced myself and gave him the card. And he's like, oh my God, I've been wanting to set up at your show. Zach, he's actually from Racine. So I think he's going to set up in a couple of weeks at our October show. What I bought was a hobby box of 1991 Upper Deck football, which was the very first box of cards I ever opened. Santa Claus brought it for me. I think I was in fourth grade. The 91 Upper Deck football was under the tree, and it was the first box that I ever opened. And it was just every time I see one like on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, it's like, oh man, I should buy that. The thing with eBay, it's hard because you have to pay about an extra 12 to 15 bucks shipping. And this is strictly a nostalgia rip for me. So I will do a video, Zach. I'm gonna do a break video at some point in the next few weeks. I thought about actually saving it for like around Christmas, but I'll be with like family and stuff. So I don't really want to just break away and do an hour-long video. So I think I'll do it here in the next few weeks. I will do a video. I haven't ripped any 91 Upper Deck football since 91. So obviously I know we all know what cards are in there 30 years later. But it's still going to bring back, there's still going to be some cards because I don't do much football. So if it's 91 Upper Deck baseball, I think I actually have a box. Nope, I think I sold all my boxes with packs. But like 91 Upper Deck baseball, I see so much of it that it's like, oh, here's another one. I've seen a million of these in the last 30 years. But the football, I don't see much football. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If I pull a Dan McGuire or, hey, Brett Favre, I think is in the set. This is the high series box. So I actually don't even know if this was the actual same series that I opened. I'm not sure. The Darrell Green fastest man in football. That was a short print. That was in that set. Had the Joe Namath. And actually, I thought mine maybe this wasn't the box that I got because this has Joe Namath on it. And I thought that Joe Montana was in the box that I opened as a kid. So this may actually be a different series. I'm not sure. It's 91 Upper Deck football. It'll still be fun. It was 20 bucks. It was a nostalgia buy. Zach says, I opened a few packs my LCS had for 50 cents a pop and pulled a Favre. Awesome. Game Breaker holograms. Montana has the Series 1 heroes. Okay, so this is the high series with Joe Namath, so not the Montana. And I think I'm fairly certain the one I had as a kid was the Series 1 with Montana because I was a huge Montana fan. I was a Bears fan, but my favorite player was Joe Montana, and I collected Joe Montana. So that'll be the less sober Joe. That'll be a fun rip for me. So let's get into the Rockford Card Show. I woke up, had my Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, piled all my cards in, and away I went. I took 16 bargain boxes, so probably around 40,000 bargain box cards. I left a few boxes that were just kind of half full. Those are my new boxes, my all new for October for the Madison Card Show. So my inventory might be getting a little stale, if especially for people that have, and I don't want to lose potential, I don't want to lose regulars where they come every month and they're like, because as a buyer, I would do that, if I like, oh, he hasn't added anything new, I'm not going to spend any time here time, spend any time or slash money. So I'm going to do some all new for October. That way, the customers coming in know exactly, if they've been the last couple months, they know these aren't stale cards. These are brand new for the month. That was also why I wanted to buy some bargain boxes outright so I could add some more inventory. I have plenty that I could toss in the quarter boxes, but these are already sleeved and I'm running low on sleeves. I actually stopped at Walmart on the way home, and they had one pack of the 500 penny sleeves, and the lines they have, Walmart's going to like basically all self checkouts. The one here on the far east side, Monona, it still has like checkouts, but they have like two open. The typical Walmart. There's 36 cash registers and two are open. And then of course the self checkouts backed up into the produce aisle. So I'm like, I have one pack of 500 sleeves. Like I don't need it. And I'm not going to wait 20 minutes in line to check out for one pack of 500 sleeves. So I just kind of walked and looked at the different, all two open lines, took a look at the self checkout line and put them back and left. So did not get any sleeves. So when I buy the bargain boxes, these were already sleeved, so I can just transfer them over to my boxes for the next show, which by the way is October 23rd, Saturday, 2 weeks away. Madison Card Show, Sheraton Hotel, starting to really fill up. I'm actually meeting with the venue this week. We're going to talk about 2022. So hopefully we can keep that price the same. And I also want to go over the layout because I had to do some last minute adjusting to the floor layout a couple weeks ago. So I think the way I kind of see it, we could even squeeze some more tables in without it being, because it's a 5,300 square foot room. So there's room for plenty of tables. So I want to maximize the room space without it detracting from the buying experience or selling experience for the vendors. So we have some room to work with, and we just need to find a good setup, a good layout to make it all possible. So looking forward to that. So I get to the Rockford show. A much bigger turnout. I missed last month, but I was there for the August show. The August show was kind of low on vendors and it was really low on traffic. But I mentioned this actually in the podcast with John on. They have a podcast, and I think the website northernillinoiscardshow.com. There's also a podcast. So he did some vendor spotlights. We talked about it, and I said, even though the traffic really sucked at the August show. Just to be honest, the traffic was really down, but I had a successful show. Even though I didn't make much in sales, I was able to buy some stuff, and I bought some random singles. I did buy the basketball box, kind of a bulk buy that I'll go into here in a bit. Bought some good dollar cards that, I think one I was able to flip for $10. So was able to find some good deals there. And I met I think I met two vendors at that show that would come set up at my August show later that month. And I think one of the two came back. One was busy, couldn't make the September show, but the other one did come back for the September show also. So that's how I see it. Like I'm not setting up at the card shows. And right now I think I'm going to scale it to just my show and the Rockford show. That's 2 weekends a month. I think that's good. Once I go in full time, we'll see how the winter goes. Maybe I'll branch out and do some other shows, but I'm going to keep it in a small circle, small radius, because I'm selling quarter cards. And, it takes, if I'm spending X amount on tables, I've got to just, sell, 20, a lot of 25-cent cards just to meet the table plus travel. So, I've just kind of weigh it out, but that's not the only thing. I'm doing some networking and passing out Madison Card Show, not only for buyers that come by my table and say, "Oh, here's the Madison, I'll check this out sometime," but also other vendors that I can develop relationships with and have them come set up at my show as well. So, speaking of that, I met Tony. Tony runs the Salvation Army show in Oak Creek over by Milwaukee. Um, which I haven't been to that show. I feel guilty because like everybody that I know has gone there and I have not. So I think their next show is in November. I think they do the first weekend of each month. So I'm gonna make a point of getting over there and walking the floor next month. So I met Tony, awesome dude. He's actually I think he said he had a son that goes to Stevenson High. So we were talking about Jalen Brunson. And he was just an awesome high school player, and then obviously awesome college player at Villanova, and now he's doing well in the NBA. So we talked a little Stevenson basketball, and Tony has some amazing vintage. Amazing vintage. In fact, there were a couple cards, and I'm like, we'll see if I have a good show, I'm going to come back and buy at least one of these cards. He had a couple of 1934 to 36 batters up Billy Hermans. There was a 52 tops high number Phil Caver, or I don't know if it's high number. It's a short printed. I can't remember in that series if it's short print or high number, but it's the short print Phil Cavaretta, which I think that's the only 52 Cubs that I need. And then there was some other. He had some Mecca double folders, which he didn't have any Cubs. That's I've showed it off on Twitter. The Johnny Evers that I bought at the National was a Mecca double folder. So he has some awesome stuff. If George is watching, probably later on, George, he had a 48 Bowman Stan Musial rookie card, $700 price tag on it, which sounds like a decent deal. I don't know what comps are on that card, but everything seemed priced right, priced good. So yeah, so I definitely, in part of me wanted to buy the Billy Herman especially, but I'm going into business full time selling cards on Friday. So my business is in its infancy, even though I've been selling and I have a nest egg built up, but I'm in business for my own. And what happens if there's a crash? What happens if something with eBay? I mean, there's so many, and I did this in a SWOT analysis. There are selling cards. There's a lot of threats that are beyond your control. If for some reason I can't get my stamps at 38 cents anymore, 40 cents anymore, and I have to pay, the going rate USPS, that's going to cut in drastically, not only to my slim margins, but maybe I would have to look to increase prices and not do the 99-cent cards with free shipping. Outside threat, eBay, something within eBay where maybe they start doing insertion prices again, where I don't have 50,000 free listings. I don't think that'll happen, but it could. So these are all things in the back of my mind that I need. I need to have that that money set aside just in case there's some outside threats that could drastically alter my sales. So in with all that going through my mind, it's like, okay, I need to focus on, since I'm really gearing up, I need to focus on some purchases that for the business purchases, and that was buying some bulk bargain boxes. Zach says 2 minutes behind. That Oak Creek show is super close to my home. We haven't gone yet. I would recommend checking it out. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I have not been myself. It's quite a drive for me. Probably an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, maybe, probably an hour and a half. So, but I do want to get over there. and I have several vendors that set up at my show that set up in Oak Creek as well. Um, so that was kind of my thought process behind buying the second bargain box, which was the dollar box. So I'm gonna get into that in just a moment. I'm gonna finish my Rockford card review. Uh, Traffic was great. Traffic was awesome. We had great traffic come in. There was a big morning rush. By 1 o'clock, it really started to dry up. Um, but then there was some kind of up until about 2, there was some, just kind of lingering um people popping in. I tore down about 2:30, I think. Show ran 9 to 3, but by 2:30 it was pretty dead as far as foot traffic. A lot of the vendors had already started packing up by probably 1:30. I think a few vendors were already packing up because it really 1 o'clock it really hit the wall. And it was a beautiful day. It was like 80 degrees. I wore a long sleeve shirt. It was kind of a light long sleeve shirt, but I should have just went with a t-shirt or a polo because I walked out the doors. It's like, whoa, sunny and 80. I did not expect this. I did have shorts on, so that was, my saving grace, I guess. So it's a beautiful day. So that could have altered some traffic as well. Most likely the last, probably you can bet that it's the last 80-degree weekend in the year for another 6 months or so. So the traffic was great, great morning rush. My bargain box traffic was down though. I did not have I did have some people that were digging. And I need to alter, I need to do something. I need to change. I think I'm gonna change up my strategy for the bargain boxes. Um, I just I don't think I'll be doing it in the next couple months because I'll be really ramping up. Even though I'll be doing cards full time, it's going to be dedicated to eBay. So I'm going to focus more on that. But I do want to alter some strategy, and there were a couple things I noticed yesterday with the buyers that I'm gonna that are kind of easy fixes. So excited to hear the show and learn your approach and how you grab these awesome scores. Absolutely. And thanks for the question. I don't know if I responded yesterday on Twitter, but I saw that question on Twitter and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I'm going to hit on that in my review tomorrow. So thanks for the question. It's an awesome, great question. Um, so one thing I did notice, and this has been the battle since April, since we started the Madison Card Show, that because the last show I did pre-pandemic, it would have been February 2020, just before the pandemic. I had about 3 bargain boxes, and they were sorted by team, which 2, 3 bargain boxes is pretty easy to sort. It's going to take a few hours, but it's not 16 bargain boxes where it's going to take a lot of time if I wanted to sort by team. So my thought process behind it was typically myself as a bargain box digger, I don't like team sorted boxes. And why? And you're asking, but that's crazy. You're a Cubs hoarder. You're why would you not like that? And here's the reason. Um while yes, I do pull a lot of Cubs out of bargain boxes, usually I'm looking for flips. And I like the chase. That's part of the bargain box that just excites me. Going through, especially when they're really good, like Jennings, the Freeport Card Shop, awesome boxes. I can find a lot of cards in there that I can flip. 50-cent card I can flip for $10. You just have to put in some time, and you have to know what you're looking for, and you can do it. So I like the thrill of the chase. So I kind of had that mindset, especially when I had 16 boxes. It didn't start at 16. I think my first show in April, I had like 8 maybe. And then the next one I had like 14, 13, 14, and then I got up to like 16 or 17. So that's kind of my approach was, it's going to be the thrill of the chase. And for people like me and other people that just like, there's a lot of people out there that like sorting through bargain boxes and just pulling cards. It can lead to increased sales because if it's sorted in any way, they're going to say, oh, I'm a Cubs fan. I'm going to look, okay, my boxes don't have Cubs. So we'll use White Sox. I'm a White Sox fan. I'm going to pull, okay, here's Frank Thomas. Here's a Bo Jackson. Here's uh, a new Andrew Vaughn. And, they'll buy, a couple, $2 worth because they're a White Sox fan. And they're like, well, I just, I maybe I'll find a Wander Franco in the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe I'll find Ken Griffey Jr. in Seattle, but I don't really. I'm just here for the White Sox. And if you're you're digging through the boxes, it's kind of like, for me, it kind of takes away the thrill of the chase for me. Now, unless I happen to see, sometimes I'll flip through and it's like, if I see some Bowman Chromes, some like first Bowman Chromes, say it's, I just showed, somebody commented about Jean Diaz from the Tampa Bay Rays, say I'm flipping through and it's like, oh, there's a first Bowman Chrome Jean Diaz, for 25 cents or even $1. It's like, okay, that's a good deal. So then maybe I would go back and I would start looking through the various teams. But overall, I don't like a sorted bargain box. And I know there's others out there because I had one customer and he was my biggest sale. I think it was a $50 sale. And that's what, and I told him, I'm like, is there anything you're looking for in particular? I always ask that. And it's not because my answer is always like, I had one guy, Blue Jays, and I'm like, well, sorry, there's a lot in there. You just have to look. And that's usually like, unfortunately, these are not sorted in any way, so I can't help you find Blue Jays. So this guy that bought $50 worth, I'm like, is there anything you're looking for in particular? And he's like, no, I love the randomness of this. And he filled a box. So I did the fill a box, 100 count box for 20, 200 count box for 40, 300 count box for 50. So if you buy 300 cards, you're getting that, 16, 17 cents per card. Buy 100 or 200, 20 cents per card. So you get that bulk discount and a free box. So the funny thing is, and I told John or Mike from the show yesterday, I put these out at my show in Madison and nobody uses them. Like they'll like come up and they'll have a stack of like 200 cards. And I'm like, you can fill a box. Not only can it's a free box for you. You might get a better discount filling the box. But also it saves us time counting 212 cards out or whatever it may be. And in fact, the last show, our show in September, I didn't even put the fill a boxes out because nobody had used them probably the prior 2 months, like maybe one or two here, but in Rockford, they love them. It's so strange. I don't get it. Like in Rock, like I think I had 3 or 4 people fill the boxes, and I had a few. I had here's another strange part about yesterday's show. I had probably 4 or 5 customers that brought up like 1 or 2 cards, and my mistake for not bringing change, coins, and it's like, I don't have change. You can have them. Just one person had 1 card. It's like, just take it. A younger kid had 2 soccer cards, and I'm like, I don't have any change. You can have those. He's like, really? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, just take them. So, and if it's 1, 2, or 3 cards, that's fine. So one thing I noticed, speaking of soccer, I'm going to bring, I have a couple like 800 count boxes of soccer cards that I don't know anything about. I mean, I know like Messi and I don't know. I know like 3 or 4 soccer players. So in those have probably all been cherry picked because these came in collections that were pretty picked through. So, I had one guy come up and he's like, do you have any soccer? I'm like, I have 1 row. There's a lot of Topps Chrome from like 2014 or 17. I don't even know what year. And there must have been something he liked because there was he had a stack. I think he had like $8 worth of 25-cent soccer cards from Topps Chrome. And then the other kid I had, and then I had a couple more people. I had probably 5 or 6 people ask about soccer. Now, most of my soccer is, a few years old because it's in collections I've picked up over the last couple years. But I do have, a couple soccer boxes, so I can probably put together at least 2 or 3 rows of a 4-row box of soccer cards. And it may not be what people are looking for, but people are looking for soccer. I actually had one person looking for NASCAR, and I'm like, I've got like 2, I've got them in flat rate boxes. I've got 2 or 3 flat rate boxes of racing cards. But I didn't think there was a market, and I don't want to haul, a box of NASCAR to every show, and nobody wants it. So maybe I'll dabble and I'll put some NASCAR out just in case. I don't know. So soccer for sure. I'm going to be ramping up soccer. I'm going to try to find some way to get my cards somewhat organized. I still like the randomness. But I do think, and this is going all the way back to my first shows where I explained the method to my madness of not having them sorted. Maybe it's a turnoff because people aren't, looking. And that's true. I get that, because especially when you have, I think I have like 12 baseball boxes. I have 2 5-row boxes and, probably 10 4-row boxes of baseball. And there's some pockets of, a pile of new pro debut that I threw in there for, just because it's a new product. I've got like Heritage Minors in a box, Bowman in a box. So there's somewhat sorted, but it's like, how do you sort? Because I bet I had 3 or 4 people looking to set builders. And it's like, I will never be a set builder guy, as far as like a set builder vendor, because that's way down on my list of like just what I do. And it's to sort. It's too difficult because you can have boxes of, I'm just going to use, I think I had 80, somebody asked about 83 Topps recently. I've got a couple monster boxes of, say 83 Topps, but they're not sorted. And to sort all that is just not worth the time. And that's why I stopped selling on Sport Lots. It's like, say 81 Donruss. It's like, oh, I bet there's people still building 81 Donruss. And it's just, is it worth 1 or 2 18-cent sales on Sport Lots, spending 3 hours sorting it all? No, not in my opinion. So I think sorting by set is, for me, a waste of time. I would rather sort by team. And then because you also have player collectors. So there's no perfect way to set up a bargain box, because you're going to have people come up that want to dig. They're cherry picking. Like me. I'm a cherry picker. I like the randomness, and I like to find the first Bowman Chromes in a 25-cent box. So there's the cherry pickers. There's the set builders. There's the team collectors, where I also fall into that category. There's the player collectors. Okay, I'm looking for Wander Franco. Now, if you're looking for Wander Franco, that's easy. If you're sorted by team, you just go to the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, if you're a Ricky Henderson collector, you've got to go through, 8 or 9 different teams, but a player collector knows. So that's kind of my thought process behind, if I do sort it, it's going to be by team, because if it fits a team collector, obviously, it also fits the player collector because they know which teams they're looking for. And then if you're like me, you're not really into the sorted boxes, but at least you can flip through and, hey, I see a first Bowman Chrome of this prospect. Hey, that's a good deal. I'm going to look through the rest of the box. So I think eventually that may be the route I go. And I already have the dividers for baseball, at least, set by team. So that's kind of my thought process on the whole bargain boxes. And I do think at this point, I do need to switch it up. But my main thing is just adding new, keeping it fresh. That's the number one concern. I've got to continue adding new, fresh inventory. George, what's up? You did something for the kids. You're supposed to push them down in the aisle. That's funny. So George, I don't know if you joined, but one of the vendors yesterday at the show had a 48 Bowman Musial rookie card, $700. It looked in good. I don't know conditions, but and I want to talk about that too. So he actually runs a show in near Milwaukee. He had some awesome vintage cards that I liked. So I saw that. I was going to take a picture and send it to you. So speaking of grading, so vendor that was next to me, he was also next to me at the last show. He's like a grading. It was amazing, grading expert, because I've never seen this. I'm not into grading. So it's not something I would go out of my way to like watch a YouTube video or just, look up myself. But when there's nobody at your table and the guy's, set up next to you and you see it, he's got like it almost looks like a microscope. I guess it probably would be a microscope. And he puts the card under it. It's all lit up, and then he's got like the iPad screen that he can look, and he's got these tools that can tell like length and width. So he had, and I think another vendor took a couple of Wayne Gretzky Topps rookie cards, and I guess both of them came back like altered, I think, from PSA. So he's like, what's your opinion on these cards? And he took them out, and one was just a sliver shorter, and based on this tool he could tell. And so he's like, we'll put them side by side, and like with the naked eye you couldn't tell, but with the tool, and if you look up close, you can see, like when you put them under the microscope, you can see that, yeah, one's shorter than the other. It was just, and like him talking through it, just like really awesome. I'll have to get his name. Cool that the first thing he's like, oh, you're the Cubs guy, I read your story on Sports Card Investor. So that was funny. I like random by sport. I do have to pick one up at some point down the road. Got to reload the pockets. Yeah, that's a big spend. A Musial rookie. So let's get in to answering the question that was posed yesterday. How did I go about buying bargain boxes outright? So I actually bought two yesterday from the same vendor, and they came about in different ways. The vendor is from Northwest Indiana. He actually set up at my show a couple months ago, and he was doing the Rockford show for the first time. So we were unloading in the parking lot before the show, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I've got a 5-row box of baseball that I'm would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take a look for sure." I'm like, "Once I get set up, I'll swing by." So I got set up and went over to his table, showed me the box, and I start digging through, and he gave me a price, and I'm like, that's a pretty good price. And I'm like, there's some first Bowmans, there's some refractors in there. Now, some of the refractors are guys that, didn't make it. Also, by the way, I haven't looked through the entire box yet. I was just thumbing through just to see, okay, is this worth it? I offered him $60, which is about a penny a card. Because there's a lot of like Bowman paper that, it's quarter box fodder. So a lot of stuff quarter box fodder, but there's also some stuff that, I saw some first Bowmans that, yeah, I can probably flip. The thumbnail to this video shows some of the, actually, no, that's incorrect. That's the dollar box. Sorry. Those were dollar box cards. But there were some first Bowmans in this penny box. So I said $60. He's like, yeah, are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that. So $60, penny per card. And there's some good stuff in there. There were two Randy Rosarina Bowman rookie cards, a penny a piece. You can't beat that. I think there was a bunch of Andrew Benintendi rookie cards. Now his stock has gone down, but still a penny a card, great deal. So I am actually going to do a video maybe next week, just kind of going through, and actually maybe this week, we'll just see. I'm still working my day job through Thursday. Friday I've got appointments, card appointments. So and then Saturday I'm going to be out of town. So Sunday I'll be catching up. So at some point I'll be showing off the penny cards. So that's how that deal came about. And that's one way. That's a big way um to get these collections. It's all about, networking and meeting other vendors, and to him, he didn't, it's like I don't know, I don't have anything, I don't want to do anything with this. Um a lot of guys, they have the, buy collections. They trim off, hey, I bought this collection X amount. Um, I only bought it for, these those vintage and stuff. And the rest, there's some good stuff in it, but hey, it's just extra stuff. So I'll give it to you at a discount. So it's all about networking. I mean, that's just the way of life, meeting people, and that's building relationships. That's how some of these deals come about. And that's what I found doing the card show circuit. That's like the biggest. And I, when I first started, because I used to, I've done card shows off and on, but not enough to like build relationships with other vendors. But in the last, 8 months, I have done so. And that's always what people, other vendors would say. It's like, yeah, you know, the sales are, sometimes the sales are good, sometimes they're bad, but overall, you meet other vendors, and from an outsider's perspective, it's like, well, isn't everybody in doing this to make a buck? But everybody's doing it to make a buck, but they're doing it in different ways. Some people don't want to deal with a bunch of dollar cards. I do. I like putting in the work and grinding over, a couple bucks a card. I like that. And I've been able to drill down and get a good method going to, find my niche in that market. So I like that. And, other guys, they'll buy big collections and they'll take the cherry on top and all the good stuff. And what's left is a couple dollar cards, and they don't want to deal with, a bunch of monster boxes of dollar cards. It's not worth their time. It's worth my time. So just building those relationships, meeting other collectors, great way to do that. That's how this came about. So that first box, that was the penny box that I got for a dime a card. So midway through the show, toward the end of the show, was walking the room, and I made my way over to his table, and he had, I think, like four bargain boxes, $4 boxes. My connection's unstable. Hopefully I'm still going. So I headed over. He had dollar boxes. Now, the dollar box, there was a lot of cards in the dollar boxes that I would pass on it. I would personally pass on $1. Other people, it's worth it to them. But to me, again, remember, I'm looking to flip. So there's little meat on the bone on a lot of these cards. Now, there were some cards, there were some Noel V. Marte first Bowman papers. Those sell for about $5. So those would be, good flips for a buck. So I looked through and I'm like, this is my approach. So I'll go to, a vendor that has a bunch of bargain boxes. Now, me as a seller, hey, I'm all about sending them in bulk, especially now that I have some basically stale inventory. I'd love to do a deal, a bulk sale of my bargain box and add new content. So my approach is, I'll see the bargain box. My first thought process is what's in it, first of all, the contents, and not before I think about the flip, the contents. If it's a bunch of junk wax era, even if it's Griffey, Bo Jackson, Barry Bonds, if it's loaded with stars, even at 25 cents or $1, that's a little harder to move. It's not going to move as quick as a first Bowman from the last 3 years. Now that stuff, I can move, I can liquidate quickly on the flip. So if it's a bunch of junk wax era, I don't even consider a buy. I don't even throw out an offer. I don't ask. If there's like a sign that says buy this whole box for $20, and it's like a half a penny per card, and there is some decent stuff, then yeah, I would do it. But in a scenario where it's just 25 cents per card, $1 per card, I want to look to make sure there's good content. So if there's good content, then I think about the flip. So in this case, there was good content. So, what I mean by good content is that most of the cards within the boxes were from the last few years, and in some newer stuff. Some, I think there was even some 2021 stuff in there. So I see that it's like, hey, this is good. Now I'm gonna estimate. Now I'm gonna go through and estimate what I think is in here to throw out an offer, because sometimes it's not about I always like, in any situation, I want to know what the other person is willing to buy or sell. And I know that kind of goes against against the grain with sellers should always make the price, because as a seller myself, sometimes if somebody asks about a bargain box, well, what do you think? But I think ultimately it's on the seller. So in this situation yesterday with the dollar boxes, I flip through. I kind of have a price in mind. Sometimes I have a price range in mind. At the Rockford show 2 months ago, there was a basketball box. I had a pretty wide range of what I would be willing to work with. And fortunately, they came back at like the very low end of my range. And it's like, okay, let's do it. So in this situation, I asked the seller, I'm like, first off, I ask, would you sell an entire box? Because sometimes it's not, usually vendors will, because they're looking to turn over inventory as well. Sometimes, especially if it's more of a mixed lot, they're not really, motivated to move to sell. So in this scenario, I asked, would you be willing to sell, an entire box? And there was some like, well, maybe, what would you be looking to pay? It would be a lot more than the penny box that I bought earlier. And I said, yeah, I would be willing to pay more than $60 for one of these boxes, because there was some good stuff. Like I said, I think still ultimately, I think the penny box was a better buy, just from some of the stuff I've seen. And I went through the dollar box last night, and there is some good stuff. But again, and I'm going to get into this, it's hard to, when you establish the negotiation, there's a fine line, because a lot of these cards were overpriced at $1, and you don't want to offend the vendor by saying, well, a lot of this is garbage. You have to find this fine line. Yeah, me as a buyer, what I'm looking to do, I'm looking to flip. So I'm going to be putting a lot of work in, to make my money back and try to make some profit. But at the same time, the seller's putting some time in, maybe he had to price at one time, I know sleeving. So there's work on both sides. So it's not just a one-way street trying to make the best bang for my buck. It's got to be a two-way street here. So my thought process, and here's, what, and he's like, well, what are your, what would you do with it? And that's a good conversation to have. Um, Job. Hopefully you're not losing your job. Um, so I'm going to be doing, it's not like I'm going to be flipping all, it was a 4-row box. So there's probably 2,000 cards. And that's kind of how I gauge a 4-row box, of a 4-row box with, fits about 3,200 of the, standard, here I've got this 82 tops Lee Smith. So it can fit about 3,200 of those raw without sleeve. Now with sleeve, you're looking at probably 2,000 cards per 4-row box in sleeves. So these all had sleeves. So I'm looking, there's probably 2,000 card sleeves. If I pay 200, that's 10 cents per card. I think that's a good amount for both parties. He moves. Oh man, Ken, I'm sorry to hear that. He moves an entire box, and you don't want to come out and say, these cards aren't worth $1, but I did say, I'll be putting a lot of these in my 25-cent box. So, you know, have to work that way. But there's enough in there that I can flip on eBay for a couple bucks. Um, I think there were some Griffies that I think will sell for $5 to $6. Um, there's some there the first Bowman Joe Adele, and they're paper, so they're a couple bucks. Um, but there's enough in there that it's I think it's worth it for me. Um, and it's worth it for him. So that's kind of how I go about it. And I'll just try to sum it up. First is the approach. Um, first is the approach on looking at the contents. Is it worth buying in bulk? And again, you have to establish pricing and all that. But first off, is it, if it's a bunch of 80s and 90s, me personally, I'm not gonna be interested in that. Somebody else might be, but I'm not gonna be interested in that. So I'm gonna look at the contents. Um, is it a yes or a no right off the bat? What are the contents? Do I want it? Do I want to pass? If I want it, the next step is going a little more in depth and in taking some piles. Okay, I know I can get $3 out of this. This probably sells for 5. Okay, all of these are probably quarter cards. So then I'm going to, kind of establish a price point. Where do I want to be? I start at 200. Would I go to 300? I probably would have passed. So at this point, I went through all 4 boxes and just kind of thumbed through some. And then I only wanted to buy 1 box. And I kind of, picked which one I wanted. What I liked about these boxes were they were multi-sport. So there were baseball, there were basketball, there were football, even some hockey. I had maybe 2 people ask for hockey. Very rarely do I get people asking for hockey, but I don't have any. So it is nice to have some. So I won't even look at comps or anything. Those are just going in the 25-cent box for my hockey cards. So look through each box. Okay, I pick one. Here's what I want to pay, 200. If he would have came back and said 300, I probably would have passed on 300. Maybe 250. But 200 was kind of the price that I was willing to pay. Because there's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be, a large majority of these cards are going in the 25-cent box. So, I don't want to be paying 20 cents, getting into that range. So that's kind of how I look at it. But first you just, if it's something you like, take a look. And if it's something that you do want to potentially buy a bulk box, just ask, hey, do you sell these? What's your price? If you so, first ask if they would sell. If the answer is yes, what's the price? A lot of times vendors don't have that price in mind, so they ask you. I don't like that, but then I'll go back, and if I don't have an idea, I'll go back and look. Okay, this is my price. There might be a counter, might not be a counter. There wasn't yesterday in the situation, but there might be. So just kind of establish maybe your price and your negotiation range. So that's kind of how it came about. Two different scenarios. One was, hey, I've got this box. Do you want it? Here's the price. I look through it. I counter. He accepts. We're good to go. I come back, look through some boxes. Would you sell one of these whole? Yes, but more than what I charged you for the last box. Okay, here's what I would pay. Okay, I'm good with that. So that's kind of how all that went down. Do you think the price is different for you as a vendor celebrity? I hope not. I hope not. I don't think so. Um, and but in all seriousness, I think there probably is something to that. That's the key to networking. And if you develop these relationships, do I think the price is different for some people versus others? Probably yes. If it's somebody you've worked with, and you like them, I think there's the friends and family discount. So yeah, absolutely. I think in some situations where I had somewhat of a relationship with this particular vendor. I don't think it has anything to do with celebrity status. I wouldn't consider that, but in all honesty, I do think that there's a friends and family discount that if you know somebody, you're going to give them a better deal than what you would a total stranger. So I think there is something um, in that where the prices probably do reflect relationships, and that's the key to building relationships within the card show circuit, within the hobby, within whatever industry that you're in. Ken, keeping you in my thoughts and prayers this week. Yeah, Ken, all the best. Hopefully things work out. Um, that's tough to hear. So that's the review. Overall, great success. Looking forward to the October show, October 23rd, Madison Sheraton Hotel. This Friday, be looking at. I'll be going over some dates for 2022. Hopefully, we can hammer those in. Hopefully, I don't see a big price increase on the rental room. I told one of the vendors at last show that I'm not. I've actually lowered prices on tables. So I can't. I just I we're already higher priced than most shows at $50 per table. And then there's the volume discounts, 2 for 80 and then 3 for 100. So, you get 3 tables for $33 each. I think that's a heck of a deal. It's you're also look at the room. I mean, it's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful ballroom. They have weddings there. You have the carts, and they just got new carts, which are really nice. I can fit more cards. I only have to make one trip now because the carts are just a little bit longer. So there's a lot of that goes into it where I we're priced to the room, and but I don't I don't want to raise. I'm not going to raise prices. So I'm going to have to eat that difference if the venue raises the price on me. I'm going to eat that difference, but I also have to consider if it's too much of a price increase. I can't take a loss on hosting the show at this venue. I will have to look elsewhere. So I'm prepared. There's been nothing. They haven't said anything about raising my price, but we did negotiate this deal back in like March and April when COVID was in full swing, and think we've come out of that a little bit. So we'll see. So I'm being prepared in the event that does happen. So it's in the back of my mind. There's been no talk of that, but it's just in the back of my mind. It could happen. So I just have to be on my toes to prepare. So thanks for tuning in. A little earlier on a Sunday because I was asleep at like 9:30 last night. I was on the couch. I was so I don't know why. I know I was so tired because I think I went to bed a little later than usual on Friday night. Um and I was up at like 5 yesterday morning, which is about what time I wake up normally. But I went to bed a little later. So and then doing the card show on my feet, like my feet are a little sore. And I went over. My friends were dog sitting while I was out because my wife's out of town, and picked the dog up, had a beer with my buddy, and came home, fed the dog, fed myself, crashed on the couch, and I was exhausted. I looked through some cards. I looked through the dollar. I went through the entire dollar box that I bought, and I started going through the other box, and I just like I'm just gonna lay down and watch TV. It was like 8:40, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to bed. Rich, what's up, Rich Klein? Uncle Rich saw the box. Good purchase. Thank you. Um, so it was 8:40, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to bed. It's like I've got to wait till at least 9. And so I think I made it to like 9:10 before I started wrapping my night up, took the dog out, cleaned up, and I think 9:30 I was I was passing out, and So I was up bright and early. I was up at like 3:15 this morning, wide awake. And it's like, why am I wide awake at 3:15? Oh yeah, I went to bed at 9:30. But I did snooze for a couple hours, and I guess I did sleep in a little bit. I think I was up at 6 or so. But so yeah, so that's the early show for a Sunday morning, because I went to bed so early last night. So today gonna catch up on eBay shipments from the weekend. So I'm gonna do some videos within the next 2 weeks. I would say I'm gonna go through the basically the penny box I bought. That was the 5 row box I bought for $60. There's some good stuff in there. The Randy Arozarena rookies. What else? I think the Jordans were in the dollar box, that I got for 10 cents. So, hey, 10 cents for Jordan Alvarez rookies, good deal. So I'm going to go through the penny box. I'll do a video for the penny box, and then I'm going to do a rip of the 91 Upper Deck football. I'll do a video for that as well. My first day full time in cards is Friday, this Friday, the 15th. So my last day in the office is Thursday the 14th. So I'm gearing up. I've got a big file exchange upload that I've been working on that every morning before work. I've got about 500 cards ready to go. I'm gonna try to get to like 800 maybe before I go live, because I kind of want to time that for those to go live. Well, I'm gonna be busy this coming weekend. I may hit the live button on Sunday, since I'll be out of town half the weekend next week. So I hit that live button on Sunday. So then Monday I'll really can take advantage of that time throughout the day, and the increase in sales that hopefully an 800 to 1,000 upload does to the eBay store. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. Who do the Bears play? I don't even know who the Bears play today. Do the Bears even play today? I think they do. I haven't been wearing my Bears hoodie on Sundays. I'm wearing. I think I actually wore this Wisconsin hoodie. Did I wear this yet? No, I didn't wear this yesterday. So the Bears today play the Raiders. Oh, it's a 3:00 game. So who's the noon game? So I'll get the Packers Bengals at noon on my TV. So have a great Sunday. Go Bears. And I should be live tomorrow morning again. So tune in. So when I do start full time so starting Friday, I'll probably do 7 a.m. I'll probably go live at 7 a.m. moving forward, starting Friday. And I'll likely be going live every kind of like when I worked from home. I didn't have that commute. So I was able to go live every morning. Um, so yeah, probably 7 a.m. is when I'll go, because I'm basically going to continue my my morning routine, just like I worked from home. When I worked from home, I kept the same routine that I would have when I drove into the office, and I'm going to keep that when I go with cards. So I'm going to wake up same time, get ready, get dressed, make coffee, come down and record, and then I will be working from my office upstairs, with the file exchange. So I'll be uploading all cards from my office, and then all the shipping will be down here. And I'm doing that because I don't want to be distracted with all the cards behind me. Plus, it gives me more of like a traditional work feel if I'm in the office. There's a window so I can watch the dogs watch the dogs walk by, and see the UPS man deliver cards or whatever. So just want to keep that routine going, and just to kind of help me out. And I think uploading and typing and all that data entry basically for the file exchange will be helpful away from all of this distraction. So that's the plan. Have a great Sunday, and we'll talk tomorrow.